Hello and welcome to the OrthoGraph webinar. My name is Zoltán Tóth and here's my special guest.
I'm Illés Pap and I'm an architect.
In the next 45 minutes to 1 hour we are going to talk about a lot of things actually. So let's recap the issues what we are going to deal with in this installment of our webinar series. First of all, I'm going to talk about OrthoGraph as a survey concept, how it can make your job much easier and faster, and the latest things what we came up with. In the second panel, I'm going to actually look at a real life floor plan, what I sent you a copy of. So if you have this floor plan, you can follow along and you can see how we are going to recreate this drawing in OrthoGraph. The reason why I picked this one is because this is going to give up all the small tiny details what will make the site survey a very monotonous and tedious job. But we are going to see how OrthoGraph can make this thing much easier and faster. And eventually we are going to talk about how this model, what we are going to create, can be opened in Arcline XP, which is a CAD application targeted for interior decorators and architects. My guest here is going to talk about how he can elaborate that model, and he's going to show you a little bit of tricks what you can apply to gather the building data into the software and can create a 3D model, 3D render in the end. So let's get to it. One thing you have to be aware of that this session is going to be recorded, because that way all our customers who are not going to be able to tune in at the moment can listen to it at the end. You are welcome to post your questions for the whole duration of this series in the chat bar, but at the end we are going to look at them and we are going to answer the questions. So let's get to it. So first of all, let me start by running through the application itself. Now, OrthoGraph as a concept, I think you are all familiar with that. What it does is that it allows you to sketch building data on a tablet screen. Now, the reason why you would do it on a tablet screen instead of pen and paper is because if you are sketching with pen and paper, you might have measurement issues. So if you have measurement mistakes, that would prompt you to go back to the scene, spending time and spending money on surveys which you have already done, and that's something what we want to filter out. Another idea why we made this application in the first place is because we decided that if you are going to import the drawings what you are making on the scene into CAD anyway, then how about you draw into CAD directly? So instead of spending time in front of your computer at 10 p.m. in the evening, you can just snap this data into CAD and you would be on your way finishing your model. So these are the ideas what made OrthoGraph come to be. We have a lot of users from all kinds of walks of life. Not everybody needs to have a very elaborate 3D model. Some people just need to have a very simple sketch, but we try to cater for all of them. But instead of just me talking about how great this application is, let's see if it delivers what I'm telling it would be. So the work with OrthoGraph looks like this. You enter the location what you want to survey, and based on what you see, you are going to sketch a very simple drawing, right? So everything what you are sketching is going to turn to straight walls and 90-degree angles.
Already walls?
Yes, already walls. These are walls what I'm sketching here. If I go into 3D, you see that this is actually a 3D model already, even though I only have just 6 lines here altogether. So, but this is not enough information for me to get by. I need to measure it, right?
Yes.
So
absolutely.
Let me measure this wall first, and let's say that this is 5 meters, and you see that the first measurement rescales everything. Now, for those users who are not really CAD targeted, fire investigators or real estate professionals, they might not need to make all the measurements. And OrthoGraph supports them as well, because you don't have to measure everything. But if you want to measure all the walls, you can do that as well. So you can measure all the walls here, and you see that every time you make a measurement, the ending point is pushed away or put closer. Now, for my sake, I'm going to use the software in metric, but it obviously supports the imperial as well. So now let's make a couple of more measurements, and what you are going to see is that the angles are going to be kept unchanged as long as possible. So if you're not somebody who's looking for angled measurements, this is a very good tool. However, if you want to know the exact angles, you can do a diagonal measurements. Let's say 7.5 would be our number, and here you go. Now, if this is still too slow for you, you can bring in professional measurement aids, such as this tool, which is like a Disto D2 device. This is a fairly recent gadget. And the great thing what we love about it is that it has a flip out end piece, which you can use to measure from a corner, or you can flip out all the way and you can measure a diagonal. So yes, that way you can get measurements into the system via Bluetooth. So the great thing about this device and the connection with OrthoGraph is that you can very simply gather the data into the screen as you go, basically.
I see.
But you can help me demonstrate how that works. So let's say that I want to, first of all, I just have to turn this device on, and I have to connect via Bluetooth. And if I have one measurement, let's say here, and if you would push it against the wall, push the button, and you can measure to the other side of the...
So it's on, yeah. I just put it over there and push the button.
Yes, and one thing what we forgot to do is that I already connected to another laser distance meter. This is what happens if you have an office which is full of laser distance meters, because that way you have tons of devices to choose from. But actually, I didn't connect to this one, but to the one which is on the counter. So it was too far away to grab that for a measurement. But never you mind, I can just connect to the actual one, make a measurement, and if you could do that again for me.
Let's just do that. Okay, so push it here and
just push the button again.
Okay, it wakes up and then...
Another measurement.
Okay.
And there you go. So you see now the 3.9 meter value appears on the screen as well. So that way I just hit the check mark, and now the measurement is in the system.
Yeah.
This cannot only be used for walls, you can also use it for other elements such as doors, windows. If you have a door here, a double wing door for instance, you can just make a measurement, and then if you snap a measurement into the system, you see the same number appearing on the screen. If you want to, every time you make something, if you modify this drawing in any way, you see that the numbers, which are the locational reports, the estimations, update all the time.
Yeah.
One other thing what we have to talk about is that every time you highlight the wall, you can not only adjust the length, but also the thickness and the height, because this is the time when you would do that. So instead of going back to the office and customize the wall thicknesses, you can do it
on the side.
Yes, on the side, and you can use the laser for that too. Once you have one room up and running, you can have the next room sketched to the first one, and if you sketched it close enough, then it can attach, let's say, like
so
this.
So it automatically snaps?
Yes, it snaps there.
Okay,
yes.
I see that.
But there are going to be other ways to add certain rooms. I'm going to show that later on. What I'm showing you right now is just the concept itself, so you can see how easy it is to sketch things with just a couple
literally sketching, yeah.
That's right. So you do almost the same things as you would do with pen and paper, but instead what happens here is a real-time update of your drawings. So every time you make a measurement, it distorts. If you make a measurement mistake, there's going to be a pop-up notifying you that you are making a mistake. Stop doing what you're doing.
Okay.
And then
that's nice. That's a nice thing.
Yes, and you see a real-life feedback on what's going on. Now, if you want to export this drawing into a format, what you can use, because obviously, let's face it, you are not going to use the drawing on a tablet screen all the time. You want to have some kind of export formats, obviously. So if you want to export it, there are a couple of ways to do that. PDF is one of our formats that we support, which would get you a measured survey with locational information bits. Also, you can snap an Excel sheet out of this drawing, which would get you all the estimations. So what you see on this spreadsheet is not something that you have to put in on the screen, on the scene. This is estimation what comes from the program itself.
The model.
The model generates this data. If you are more fond of CAD, then DXF is your way, which you can snap into almost any CAD application out there. You can see that everything is stored in different layers.
Yes.
Or if you want to go into the BIM territory, which I'm pretty sure you would be interested in, because that's what you are going to talk about, then here you go, an IFC model on the same thing. So that's the idea. But this is just the basics. Showing you real life, I mean ideal circumstances is nothing important for you, because you want to see how it actually works.
Yes.
So instead of just me doodling around with this program, let me show you how it works on a real life building. And this is the floor plan what I sent you before. So this is actually the flat what we are going to use to see how OrthoGraph can perform. The reason I was choosing this floor plan is because it has a lot of different tiny details, including diagonals, wall breaks, and this would actually give me the opportunity to see how OrthoGraph can tackle with all these issues. So let's see how that happens. So let's open up a new project and let's see how OrthoGraph can draw this location. Now, first thing you do, I think you remember, you sketch the room.
Yes.
So let's start with the one which is on the top. With OrthoGraph, it's a very important concept that you always start with the room which connects to the most amount of rooms. So because that way you can start with the central room and you can sketch the components around it. That will be the hub. It can be a doorway, it can be basically a hall or a
Openings.
living room with full of openings. That's right.
Yeah.
So let's start with sketching the shape of the room. Again, you don't have to be accurate. You just have to have the number of corners ready. Nothing else matters, basically. So you make a measurement, let's say from here to there, and you add the value of 4.89.
Yeah.
And after that, you make the next measurement here, which would be 5.07. Now, I see it on the floor plan that this is actually not angled, but on the scene I wouldn't know that unless I measure a diagonal. Again, if you are that kind of user who needs to have a very carefully measured survey and you need to have the corners distorted, then that's the way to go. Another measurement here, that's going to be 2.25. And another measurement there, which would be 4.1. Now, if I trace over this diagonal right now, you see that I have 2.20 as a value added, but you see that the same value is already on this floor plan. So in this cases, you can just hit the check mark and accept that value, take it as it is, but that's not needed. Let's carry on with the measurement. Let's have this one. It's 6.12. Now, before I do anything else with this floor plan, there's a very interesting thing I want to call your attention to, because in this floor plan, I think some of you might have noticed that there's a break over here.
Over there.
Over there, yes. So in OrthoGraph, this exists as one continuous wall with one wall thickness, which is 10 centimeters. But actually, in this model, there's a break here. What I need to recreate somehow for two reasons. One is because if I don't have this break in my drawing, the angles are not going to be all right. And yes, and the wall thickness would not be, I wouldn't be able to represent this. So what I have to do is I have to squeeze that break into my drawing somehow. Let's see how that happens with OrthoGraph. So I'm measuring this wall segment, which is 2.23, and then I have to tap on this wall here, tap on the add corner point, add node tool, and now I have to measure where this node is. Now, if you're working in CAD, you are pretty much familiar with the idea that everything is happening between nodes.
Yeah.
So you have to have the exact amount of nodes on the drawing. If you have too many corner points, that would not be beneficial for your drawing. In this case, you can just tap on the corner point and you can actually delete that. So you can just tap on it and delete it, but I'm not going to do that because I need this one for my drawing. Now, let's proceed. I have a diagonal here, and that's 8.23 meters. And I have another measurement there, which is 4.16. And another measurement there, which would be 7.73, if I'm not mistaken. And what I see now is that I managed to recreate the break over there. So I have the node there, I have the break in the wall, and now I'm able to go about my business and deal with the rest of the rooms, because now I can know for sure that this drawing looks like the room the way I was supposed to sketch it. That's right. So now here's where we are. Now what we have, before we proceed, there's a very important thing what we come across at this point. We see that there's going to be another room here, another room there. Now if you have a paper-based floor plan as I do right now, I know that this wall is one continuous wall, and I see how the rooms align. Now, if you are doing a site survey, especially in an older building, you might not know for sure if this wall is aligned, so you can't really sketch the next room closer to the first one the way I did in the beginning, because you can't know for sure if this is how it's going to align. Now, what do you think we can do in this kind of case?
Perhaps connect them via the opening?
That's right, because if you can measure the door from here, and you can measure the door from the other side as well, that means that you have one common reference point, which can act as a transmitter between rooms. Now, let's see how that pays up for us. So what we do is that, let me go over there and have the second room sketched here. So the bottom line is that you just have to sketch it somewhere next to it. And
an empty space.
And let's find an empty space and just sketch it. So 3.38 is one of the numbers what I have to put in here. And again, don't forget that you can use a laser for that purpose, but now I have everything written in this paper, so that's why I'm instead just putting in by hand. Another measurement there, 4.15. A diagonal there, 4.45. and another measurement there, which would be 222. There we go. Now, I have the two rooms ready, but I can't just quite move them together. I have to first have the common opening represented. So let's say I have one door. It's going to be a one-wing door here, and it works very simple. You just tap on the floor plan and move your finger to the opening direction. There you go. Here's one. And I accidentally installed another door, but if that happens, you can just throw it away.
Just erase it. Oh.
Yes. So still having the door selected, I just have the second room door here. And now I'm going to measure this one for 2 meters and this one for 2 meters as well. There you go. Now all I have to do, I click the move location tool, this one, and I try to snap the two together. And when I do, I see that the program tries to merge the rooms.
Oh.
And now I can know for sure if I go to the measurement menu, see all these points, all the measurable points are marked with a check mark, showing that these are actually accurate points. So now you see visually that this was a line. In my hasty surveying, I added another door here, but I can just simply...
That happens, yeah.
Yes, especially if you're on the field, you're just moving very fast, and
Yeah.
probably you have a case on the iPad as well. It might happen that you touch it with another finger, but then you can always undo this kind of things. Now, let's proceed to the third room, and we already established that this room is... This is how it looks like. It's another crooked room. But now I'm going to pretend that I know how these rooms align to each other. And instead of sketching them separately, I'm just going to sketch the next location close to the first one. That's what I'm going to do. Let me zoom in, hit the pencil icon, and very simply you can just sketch the room. Here you go. Remember when we added this node over there? Now that's the reference point.
So now it's automatically snapping over there.
Yes. You can measure this distance, but you can know for sure that it's 2.52 on the drawing as well. So if I make a measurement here instead, I add the value of 2.28.
Yeah.
And here you go. It distorts the way it should. So now you can trace over the diagonals as well. But again, that's not needed. The fourth room, what I'm going to add is going to be the one down here. But I'm really starting to repeat the same steps of the procedure, which just speaks volumes about how easy it is to use this application, because you are going to perform the same kind of tasks for the whole duration of the survey. I measured this to 1.48. Measured down, that's going to be 1.55.
Yes.
And on the measurement there, that's going to be 1.7 as well.
Yeah.
You can follow along on your PDF. I think I made a measurement mistake here. That wasn't 1.7. I mean, this wasn't. Yes, I made a mistake here. So you see instantly if you make any.
So I can easily correct if I make a mistake.
That's right, because you see visually if something is amiss. Now, I think the rest of the rooms would be really just repeating myself. Instead, I'm going to talk about openings, because this is where we are going to move towards the BIM territory. Now, BIM as a concept is not important for all of you who are listening to this, but for the most of you, the key takeaway would be this. OrthoGraph is not sketching symbols and blocks and arcs and straight lines. It's drawing building elements. So this segment, for instance, is a wall, and this is a door. What this means to us is that if I have, let's say, a double wing door over here, I can not only measure how it looks like, but I can also go to its properties, and that would tell me more about the building, the measurements of this element. So I can not only modify how this element, what kind of dimensions it has, but I can also add images to it, and also I can add many other data fields to it, which would be again retrievable in CAD. So if you're on the run, if you are making a measurement on a drawing, and you just see a door over there, what you want to measure, you're not satisfied with recording the measurements, the dimensions themselves only, but you can also add additional data fields that you can retrieve in CAD.
I see that.
So that would be the idea.
So not just the ones that I see there, but perhaps with the
yes,
plus.
Yes. If you hit the plus icon, you can choose from different data field types, text, numbers, length values, notes, images as well. So all these things could be added to as additional notes to certain elements. But this is not limited to walls. Doors only. But you can add notes to anything. You can add notes to walls. You can add notes to the rooms themselves. So if you hit on the on the room properties, you can add properties to this particular room, because OrthoGraph, every time you draw something, OrthoGraph creates a room out of it. So this room has ceiling height, this room has suspended ceiling height, wall thickness values, everything, and all this data exports.
I see that. We will see actually.
Yes. I'm hoping we are going to show all these things. So what is going to happen now is that I talked about the export formats before, but what happens at the end of the survey is that you just simply head to your menu, hit the export, choose the export format you want, let's say this IFC, and just hit send. Now, this is the only part when OrthoGraph requires you to be online. Everything else works offline, because obviously if you are serving in the middle of nowhere, you are not going to have coverage over there. So you might need to be able to work offline. But emailing out your project is the best way to get this project to your computer where you can work on that. So ideally, theoretically speaking, when you are going back from the scene what you are serving, you can already send a file. So by the time you get to the office, your colleagues can already take a look at it and work on it.
I see that.
One thing what we have to elaborate is that OrthoGraph only deals with those things which would require you to be on the scene. So measuring, recording certain elements of properties is something what you have to do on the scene. But everything else, CAD processing comes in CAD. And this is when you are going to take over. And let's see what happens from this file, and what happens when we export this file and open it on our computer. So over to you, Ilesh, and
thank you
amaze us.
Thank you. Let's just have a few words about what we will see. Archline XP. I'm not sure how familiar you are with Archline XP. Archline XP is a professional 2D and 3D BIM software, BIM design system for architects and interior designers. And as you see on the screen, there are all the tools at the left-hand side toolbox for the building design items, the interior design, manufacture. You can even design new items, fabricate anything that you would like to use to fill up the interior or the exterior. You can also use the classic drafting tools, dimensions, of course, you can add, and at the end, terrain and the documentation, of course. What I am about to do now is I would like to cover what you can do and how you use professional survey data with all the details accurately measured on the spot when it's exported as an IFC file, and you go into your office and load that file, how you will work with that. So now I have received the data, the IFC file from OrthoGraph, and I'm about to open it. So it's on my computer now, and it's here. This is the site survey IFC file, which I drag and drop and I quickly open in Archline. Whenever you do that, Archline XP automatically creates the 2D and the 3D, because it's not just a 2D sketch, it's the BIM data, it's the walls, the doors and the windows, which if I just rotate this model around, you can see that whenever I select it, it's the wall, it's the door, it's the window that I have measured with all the width, the height, and also the additional data. So you told me that you can add nodes,
that's right,
and other things,
any
other
kind of
additional BIM data, then that will also appear. So you just select that item, and here at the left hand side you can find the BIM parameters, and there are the OrthoGraph parameters. So everything that you have measured there, everything that you have filled up your survey drawing with, is accurate and just as it was designed by someone in a CAD software. So let's just see how you can work with that data. First of all, here you can see if you would like to extend this drawing, because for example this is a conversion, loft conversion or anything else, then you can extend this drawing. You can just simply select the for example the create similar tool or the wall tools or anything else, and you can see you can snap to the original
so it
survey
snaps
data
to the OrthoGraph walls.
Yeah, the OrthoGraph walls. These are the OrthoGraph walls, and now I'm creating new walls in Archline, and I'm snapping to those walls to simply just quickly sketch something around. But the same goes with the doors and the windows. So whenever I wish to create a window, for example, I just go to the building part, and there are the window tools. I just select the window part, and for example here someplace I add a window. Also, of course, you can design where it should be if you would like to place it, I don't know, 200 millimeters from the corner. I'm working in millimeters now. So you can just simply type that and the software will understand and place that thing over there. The same applies for the doors as well. So the software comes with a built-in library for doors, windows, objects, and anything else, profiles or whatever you would like to fill up your design with. And then you just simply go there and set up the parameters. So you go to the libraries and select that item that you would like to use, or you can even fabricate a new one if you can't find them in the libraries. And then you just simply add it and change its parameters. Let's say it's 1,000. It's it's a thinner version of this door, and redraw, and there it is. Okay, so. Now I will add this door and place it, for example, someplace here, and I just typed a value, that will be the distance from the corner. I can set up the opening direction, and the same thing I will do here, for example, and I just simply create that door as well. Now the point is that whenever I would like to reuse that measured information that I have, you have actually added those doors. They have their specific width, their height, but what if I would like to change their shape to something that I already have in my libraries? That's a very simple thing. I already have a prototype here, and I just select that prototype, and from the local menu, I just use the copy properties
so you
tools.
can copy all the properties of that element. And
so the look and feel and everything, every visual aspect will be as it is on that other door, but the width and height will be kept. So once I click there, it will be identical in shape, in look, but the size won't change, because that's how I measured it on the spot. So
you don't want to mess with measurements because they're already there.
Yes,
I mean, you could override them, but the point is that they come from a fixed model.
Yes.
Good.
So, and the same thing I could do with the two-leaf door and so on. Let's just add one final item here, and that will be our, for example, a curtain wall. You can select this item, turn it into a curtain wall, and very quickly I just jump into its settings and just simply customize it to something simpler. I like that, and that's the design.
Okay.
Talking about changes, talking about how these items behave in Archline, I already created an extension over there, but literally I can do whatever I wish with these items. So for example, if I would like to change the color of the walls and the material of the walls, I can do that. I just select the whole drawing, filter it to the walls, and then find their surface finish, and go to the material libraries and look for something white. That bright white material will absolutely perfect.
Yes.
So now there are the white walls over there, and the same thing I could do with, for example, the heights to it might happen that I would like to change their heights. I can do that. 2700, for example, and now you will see in the 3D model that every wall is smaller now than it was originally. Okay, finally, let's just add a slab below this whole structure. This will be the slab by walls, and when I select this OrthoGraph survey drawing, the software will automatically recognize their counter and will automatically generate that item.
So you don't have to go about and highlight all the nodes.
No,
I mean, you could do that as well, but you can just highlight the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then it
automatically follows the contour.
Wow.
Let me just quickly customize this slab, because I think it will be just as fine to look like a bright surface. I just quickly done that, and then even if I would like to change it, just as you mentioned nodes, Archline works along the same principles. You can add nodes, you can change them, you can change the shape of selected items. Let's say this should be 2500, and also here let's just change it quickly to place someplace else visually or with values. This really depends on what I want to create. Finally, just to make this whole balcony safe, I would like to create a balustrade.
Yes.
So it's just a few clicks. Now I follow the contour along this terrace here, and when I'm done, then it automatically generates over there. And if this is a multi-story building, as it really is, then you can select the whole drawing and make a copy of this structure to quickly create a multi-story building. For that, you go there and add multiple other floors on top of this or below, it really depends. And then you copy the selection to the selected levels that you have here. So then you have
as many levels as you want.
Yes, as many levels as you want, and you can make changes on those levels once you have had a copy. And finally, let's just add a ceiling on top of this whole structure. This will be the roof. There is a built-in roof tool as well, but I think now a flat roof will pretty much do. So I make a copy of that on top of the level 3, and so now everything is just as fine. So let's just go back to the 2D floor plan, and then I will set up a perspective. Now this perspective can be set up using this tool here. It's a very simple thing. You just set up where you would like to look to on the 2D, and from where you wish to have that visual. You can also save the views, and then from that point on we can concentrate on what happens in the 3D, and then I can fully detail that. Now, talking about the surfaces, we discussed that you can add additional surface features. You can use the interior room maker, for example, click into that room and decorate the surfaces. Now, this will automatically load up, explore the rooms, and from wall to wall you can navigate with these two buttons. And then you can say that on this surface I would like to see, these are the tools here. I'm just covering now the wall surfaces, so I use that tool. That will be the color of it, or I would like to see it on all the walls, so I click on all the walls, and then it appears. And if I would like to turn this into a feature wall, I simply disable this option, and I do that. Yes. I can add other details, as you can see. I'm not covering all those details now, but you can.
But this is the idea behind it.
Yes, so. Of course. If I would like to make this visual a little bit more realistic, I can change its background as well. Let's just use a simple panoramic background. And if I realize that I forgot to set up something, I can change it. Like this window should be a little bit smaller, so I make changes and then it appears.
So how can you get all this into a documentation? So what is the ending of this?
The end of this whole process is a 2D drawing and a 3D model. It really depends on what you wish to see. Of course, you can make renders. But for that, let me just add one more thing. So this whole interior won't be that empty. There are these catalogs. You can find and download things from the internet. But now I'm just simply searching on the offline catalog and find this sofa. I think this will be pretty much
looks comfy,
nice here. So I just changed the snapping point and snap to the original survey data, the original wall. I could add a rug, I could add a lamp or anything else. So I just really furnish this interior. I can detail the model as well, and then I will focus on the 2D as well. So on the 2D I can add the measurements, the dimension, the walls dimension will help me to simply say okay and select surfaces, wall surfaces, and add all the details that I wish. Also, I can measure the openings, I can create sections, I can create elevations. All those data will appear automatically here, and finally I can document it. So when I would like to have a printed copy of this final documentation, I will go to the documentation, select the prepare plot layout, and set up an A4 paper, for example. This will be the paper size. I can select or create plot stamps, which I can fill up with the important data like the company name and the date and everything else. I just change this to OrthoGraph here, and of course everything else I can fill it up so it appears on my paper, and then I just drag and drop that 2D drawing or anything else that I have created and set up the scaling. And then if I say that, well, I don't want to see this bottom part, I can change this layout at any time.
What you want to
yes, show. And this layout is in connection with the original drawing, so whenever it changes, you can update that. And let's just have a final touch on this. Of course, out of this 3D, you can create renders with the rendering button. Now it would take a few minutes, so I won't wait for that. I already prepared finished rendered images.
So from the site survey to all the way to the digital render, it takes how long do you think?
Well, this rendering took 20 minutes to calculate with all the reflections, with all the realism in it, and to create that, you just need to set up the camera, set up the lights, fill it up with life, and just simply render. This is an interior render, but of course you can do exteriors. Yes. So if you would like to add this to the final documentation, you just use that file. I already have saved it on my computer. You just drag and drop it over there, and then I forgot to activate this drawing. So you just drag and drop that drawing, photograph. This could be a render or a photograph from the site, and then it appears here. Wow. And then you just go and print it into a PDF file or directly to your printer.
That's amazing.
Also, just a final word, we can import all the important data, like an IFC file, of course. That's we are very proud of the validated IFC export and import now. And also there are plenty of other file formats like image files, Excel sheets. You can also generate quantity takeoffs, 2D and 3D data. You can communicate with other professionals using the import and export features. And most importantly, when you do the site survey measurement professionally, you use OrthoGraph. Create everything, export the data into IFC file, and then you load it into Ashland, and you save a lot of time.
That would be the idea.
Yes, absolutely.
That would be the idea.
I hope I could show you how this general workflow works. Should you have any question, you can find additional tutorial videos on www.archlinexp.com, and also the trial version. I think my presentation here is over. Let me hand over.
Thank you very much. This looks very convincing that you can import the measurements, and then you already. So what you did, although this was a demonstration on what your software can do, you wouldn't have to waste that much time in entering the values there, because you already have the basis. So you can spend more time with creating renders and getting all this kind of data into the system.
Yes.
So that's the concept. That's the idea. What we want to emphasize with OrthoGraph is that you are going to do all those things which would not require you to be on the scene in CAD. So all the things what you can do on the scene you can, but everything else comes in a later processing stage. Like I said, this is not relevant for all of our users because most of them would be satisfied with the PDF documentation. But if you are in CAD and BIM, this is something that you cannot miss.
Yes, absolutely. I think so.
So far, we have seen a couple of things regarding our app. I showed you the latest things what we have and the OrthoGraph concept. I showed you the case study of how to measure a building properly. And you showed me how to process the data in Archline. So instead of us doing all the talking, now we are going to look at some of the questions what you might have asked during this presentation. A couple of questions arrived to us asking how you can customize the sill heights and parapet heights and threshold heights for openings. That's something. You are right. I haven't showed you that. But if you have one opening element, let's say I have one window here, and if I highlight that window, I can access not only the width but also the parapet and the sill height and the height of the window. Again, this data would export into CAD.
Yes.
So this is not something that you just record for yourself.
Yeah.
And also, if you have tiny details such as you have a thick like this one, then you can customize that in the element as well. So you would have that data on the field. Another thing what one of you asked is how you can make measurements from an arbitrary point of the drawing, because so far I was only measuring from corner points. Now, like I showed you before, in the case of this node, if you want to measure from a wall, because for instance you want to push your laser against the wall and you want to measure, then you have to tap on the wall, add the measurable point over there, and then you can measure from that point. So
it's
now,
like a marker.
That's right. So now you can highlight this point and you can measure wherever you want. Another question here asks about our compatibility with AutoCAD. That's a very widespread application. So obviously we have it covered. If you save your project into DXF, which I showed you before, into this format, that's how it looks like in AutoCAD. So that's what you can expect. Here's another one. It's asking about elements and objects and furniture pieces. I think your program can cover this data, this field a little bit better than we can. However, what we can do with our app is that we can have placeholder objects. And the great thing about those is that you can add, let me go to the furniture library. You can add all kinds of furniture pieces into this drawing. And they could be structural elements, furniture pieces, kitchen cabinets. The common element in them is that if you add this object in, you can customize their measurements,
their size,
and their size. You can resize them, and they would appear as blocks in your program, for instance, or in other CAD software.
Yes.
So you can fill those gaps in. You can use them as reference points. These were the questions what you were interested in, so that gives us a very good understanding of what you are looking for. But here's another idea of how we would like to get to know you better. We decided that we are going to give you a questionnaire. This questionnaire is about how you would use the application, what kind of CAD you are using it in. I hope a lot of them are going to say our clients, so this training will be justified. And this would give us a better understanding of what kind of features you are looking for, and this would make us better customize the software. Obviously, if you submit this questionnaire, you would expect something in return, so we have a little something for you. We have it's takeaway time. We have a package what we can give to one of you who fulfills this questionnaire what you see the link for in the description. The package consists of three things. First of all, it's going to have an OrthoGraph 1-year license included, which will give you everything what I showed you here for a year's duration. That's courtesy of us. But you brought us an Arcline XP 1-year subscription as well. So that's the second component. And the third thing is the Leica Distance D2 distance meter, what I'm holding in my hand. So I'm going to give you the link also in this video and also in an email. So all of you who signed up for this session are going to get an email from me where I'm going to show you this. I'm going to send you this link so you can register. And if you fill this questionnaire by next Wednesday, you would be able to qualify for this grand prize. So you would have it under the Christmas tree, I think.
Yeah.
So
that's a nice thing.
That's what we wanted to include in this discussion. We showed you how the OrthoGraph works. We showed you it in a concrete example, and we process it in Arcline. Yeah. So what we are going to do as a follow-up is that after this session, like I mentioned at the beginning, this is just the first installment of a series of webinars. The next one is going to be in January, and that is going to be a non-CAD, non-BIM approach, because this is going to be targeted for fire safety investigators, arson investigators, and insurance claim analysis, because they are not looking for CAD data. However, they are still looking for exact measurements.
Yes.
And that will be again an exciting topic. Thank you very much for joining in and showing us how the two works together. And thank you for joining in. Hope to see you next time. Until then, thank you very much for tuning in.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.